Time to have another player die in their first encounter. Smiles.
Wait.
Holy nerd emoji. What do you mean? Thinis is a little nerd emoji.
With the feats I have? Yeah.
Do you know what kind of monster this is?
I've been thinking about the That's Odd feat for months. I think it's so funny.
Move us over to Theater of the Mind. In the year 4018, we see a large room with a podium. A tall elven man with fine silvery hair stands beside it, giving a speech. On the side of the room, we can see 3 elves lined up and standing proudly. The first comes up to the man at the podium. Would you like to describe your character?
Thinis is average height, if not a little bit less than average height for an elf. They have fairly pale skin, droopy elvish ears, curly white silvery hair. They're typically slouching most of the time, making them seem a little bit shorter than they actually are. And most of the time they are wearing pretty regular dress clothes with a beige coat over top all of it, and some sort of colorful tie.
A colorful tie, very fun. The larger man in front of you says, Thinis Harbley. You've come far since you first started your training for the city force, haven't you?
Yeah, that's true. It's been a long time.
Yeah, you've worked quite hard, and I'm sure everyone here believes you'll do well stepping into Detective Meriden shoes.
I appreciate that, and thank you for the honor.
With that, he hands over a badge and pins it to your coat. From there, we immediately fast forward 5 years as you sort of shake your head and find yourself in a back alley of green gold. Would you like to describe the lead that you are following?
Currently, Thinis has been investigating, having an internal investigation of the police department. So right now, he would be searching through the underworld looking for information for any police that have connections to anyone in the underworld of Green Gold, and attempting to find those connections, sniff them out, and report them to higher ups to make sure that the police department itself is clean rather than just the city.
Your lead has brought you to this back alley thinking that you caught wind of some dealings that were going to happen in a plot of land that's just down this way, and you wanted to investigate from afar, sort of listen and eavesdrop and see if you can find out anything. It's certainly later in the evening, somewhere closer to around 6, 7, sort of sunset, and you see forward and around the corner there is the plot of land you were looking for as you step quietly through this alley, and you can hear what seems to be somebody whispering to themselves around that corner. What would you like to do?
I would like to use expeditious inspection. I can observe and assess surroundings with great speed, and in this case, I'm going to sense motive. Like, what is kind of, are there any falsehoods going on in what they're saying? Is there aggression in what they're saying, or are they speaking at a quieter tone?
Cool. roll me a perception check. Blind, please.
Okay.
It's one of the few... Listening to what they're saying, you get the feeling that they are practicing some sort of speech for when whoever they're waiting for shows up.
Do I recognize this voice, or is this a new voice to me?
This is a new voice to you.
Okay. Are there any buzzwords or like words said with intent that I could discern, or things that might alarm Thinis?
You do hear in the midst of their sort of bumbling, the department.
Got it. I think Thinis is kind of going to find maybe a corner against the wall somewhere to kind of sit and wait for what's going to happen. Because Thinis, I think I need more information before we can act. We need the other party here.
Okay. If that is the case, would you like to roll me a stealth check if you are trying to move quietly? So you're able to move half your speed. You have 30 foot of movement.
Yes.
Yep. Cool. And as you step over, you hear the mumbling stop.
Thinis is staying pretty still, but he kind of grips his cane a little bit more now, getting ready to possibly act.
A little bit closer now, you hear the voice. Who's there?
Thinis does not respond.
A couple more steps from around the corner, and as they turn around the corner, they see you. Who are you?
I might ask you the same thing.
Look, it's really important that I know who you are. I'm sitting here waiting for someone.
Do I notice any weapons that they have on their person?
You do notice that at their side is a... actually, give me a recall knowledge check as you sort of look this person up and down and try to gain any information about them. Oh.
Hey, I might know
20
who this guy is.
Normally for knowledge checks, you'll be rolling them blind.
Okay, gotcha.
If you fail, or if you critically fail, then I would essentially feed you false information. But
got it.
I'll just let this one roll. I'm not going to make you re-roll that. You do notice at their side is a light mace, which it isn't too uncommon for, citizens to be carrying around something with them, especially, hardier citizens. But you also notice the sort of outline in their heavy coat of a hand crossbow.
Thinis kind of takes a step away from the wall, and in one hand has his cane gripped pretty tight, and with his other hand begins to kind of reach behind his the front part of his coat, and says to the person, "My name is Thinis. What is your name?"
Their eyes open wide, and with a trembling voice they say that's all I needed to know. And with that, would you like to roll for initiative? Their initiative. Ooh, man, battle for the lowest roll. You get the first action.
For my first action, I want to devise a stratagem.
Ooh.
So once per round, assess a foe's weaknesses in combat. Got it.
Ooh, got a 19 stored in the back pocket.
Paperback book in the back pocket could be the move. And then is in Pathfinder, is moving an action?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is called stride. There's stride and there's step. Step, you move one space, but you don't trigger any reactions. And stride, you can move up to your speed.
In that case, I'm going to draw my coat pistol out. I can click the strike button right to attack with it.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna attack with the coat pistol.
Ooh. That is going to be a hit. That was almost a crit.
Yeah. And then I click just damage.
Yep.
And then...
Your coat pistol rings out, and you see your shot cleanly land. Sort of, how are you aiming at? Were you just sort of aiming to sort of debilitate?
Yeah, more debilitate. Midsection and lower.
Okay.
Nowhere near anywhere critical.
Cool. You see this shot land sort of cleanly in their right thigh as they start to stumble.
Yeah.
So that is going to be the mysterious figure, and they are going to pull the crossbow from their jacket that you spotted before, and they are going to take a shot at you with it.
Sad. Hey, I think that hits.
Yeah, 25. What is your AC?
17.
17. Okay, so it's not going to crit. Do you know how crits and like crit fails work for P2E?
You'd have to refresh me.
Okay. Obviously there is the rolling like a nat 20 and a nat 1. But that isn't the end all be all of like crits and crit fails. If you roll 10 over whatever the DC is, then it's considered a critical success. And if
Okay.
you roll 10 under, it's considered a critical failure.
Got it.
What a natural 1 or a natural 20 does is it bumps whatever you got from the roll up by 1 or down by 1. So technically, if you were fighting like a level 8 creature and you rolled a natural 20, it could bump you up from what would have been a failure to a success.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
So this is going to hit. Let me roll damage. Take 4. You will be taking damage to your stamina first.
Right.
As they take this shot and you narrowly sort of get out of the way of it as it scratches your right cheek. And with that, they are going to use their last action to step around the corner and out of view.
Okay. I'm going to draw my sword cane into my other hand.
Alrighty.
And then I'm going to walk on over. And then am I able to keep moving after that?
Yeah,
Okay,
you still have 10 feet of movement.
got it. I'm gonna move up closer and then strike with my sword cane.
Ooh, and that is going to miss.
Okay.
Draw, move, strike. That is going to now be their turn. Them being surprised as you round the corner with your sword cane, they drop their crossbow onto the ground as a free action. And then they draw their light mace and they take a swing with it. 24. Yoicks. Ow. Damage. It's going to be a 5. As you aren't quite able to avoid this one, it finds its place sort of in your side. Draw, strike, and they are going to take another swing with a multiple attack penalty. There's no way. I am trying to kill you, session 1.
Yeah, I'm dying. It's over.
Let me roll damage. 4. Thinis is not looking good. And with that, that is the end of their turn. What would you like to do?
I'm going to devise a stratagem. Okay.
An 11 in the back pocket.
And then going to strike with the sword cane again.
And with that stratagem, that will be a hit. Roll damage. They are looking hurt. They aren't quite down. You have one more action. What would you like to do?
I guess I'll attack again with the attack penalty.
Alrighty. That will hit. And with that, they fall to the ground. You notice in the thick of things that becoming more of a life and death situation than you were sort of expecting it to. With that second swing, your sword cane found place in this person's chest. They look to you and they start to say something and they pass out. And with that, the encounter is over. What would you like to do as you see them fall to the ground? I will say, like, despite the skull emoji, they are technically still savable.
Okay. Yeah, Thinis does not take the sword cane out of them at the moment to save from remaining bleeding. They kind of take a look. I would say Thinis kind of takes a look around, to make sure that no one witnessed the event. I don't know if you need a check for me on that.
Roll. Give me a perception check as you seek. You do not see anybody around.
Okay. Knowing that no one is around and this person is down, Thinis lets out a deep sigh, just goes, shit, and like actually starts to tend to their, like holds a hand to their side to kind of staunch any bleeding from the attacks they had taken, and basically sits on the ground next to them, and I would say sits there for a minute, and unless anything happens in that minute after that, I would probably pursue a lead
Okay.
to investigate this person and what they were doing here.
In around that minute, as you were sort of trying to solve this and trying to think of sort of what they would be doing here, you see a bright flash from behind you from this corridor.
Is this flash like kind of there and gone, or is it like staying on me?
Yeah, it's there and gone.
Okay. I would say that I clutch my coat pistol once more and kind of point it towards the alleyway and yell out, "Who's over there?"
And from that alleyway comes a familiar face. They were the one who gave you your badge when you were promoted to head detective. Chief Frondy comes around the corner.
Thinis keeps his gun pointed a little bit longer before dropping it, and kind of disbelief, he just kind of questions out in the open, Frondy?
Wonderful job of taking care of him, Thinis. A truly tremendous job.
It's not even what I wanted to do. Why are you here?
What do you mean that wasn't what you wanted to do? You've been following this lead of yours for, a couple years at this point, an internal investigation. And you've finally found one of the rats, wouldn't you say?
I guess, but I wouldn't have wished death upon him if I could have helped it.
Oh, nonsense. Nonsense. You've solved it. Come, we must celebrate.
But he needs medical attention. He could die.
That's the point. And you see, in sort of your panic, a small metal box held in the chief's hand. And out of it comes a Polaroid.
What's on that?
This scene here. Thinis Harbly murders someone in a back alley. Wonderful story, if I do say so myself.
Destroy that, Frondy.
Come with me for a moment and we'll consider it.
Where are we going?
To the department building. There's a meeting we have to attend.
Thinis takes another deep breath to kind of calm himself, and with much hesitation pulls the sword out from the dispatched person and begins to head over to the chief.
Good. Alright, let's get going. And with that, the chief takes you across town to the Green Gold City Force Department building. Thinis is brought to a large meeting room. Several officers of similar or higher rank, and you notice several nobles, mostly elves, are gathered around the table. In total, there are around 14 people in this room, not counting yourself and the chief. Please sit, Thinis. And he motions to an empty seat as he moves to the backside of the table.
Thinis will very hesitantly take a seat, pretty on guard.
Would you like to tell everyone here how you've finished your little investigation?
Thinis sits there for a minute and kind of stretches his fingers out on the table. It seems it's still finishing.
Always the jokes with you, and a couple of the other sort of nobles and higher-ups smirk around the table as you realize just how deep the corruption goes.
Thinis kind of flashes a look of fear at this point, but pretty quickly goes back to kind of a poker face for the whole situation.
The chief's lips sort of turn upwards as he says, "Now that you're finished here, a place has cropped up that could certainly use your expertise."
Chief, you know I need to be here. Everyone here in the city trusts me, Chief.
Read the room, Thinis. There's a whole room of people here who can't trust you.
Thinis is like really starting to get it at that point. That he's not going to have a choice. He really thought he could worm his way out of it, but he's starting to accept the situation, I would think. Where do you need me to go?
A new world wound of sorts has opened in the midst of the inner sea. And as scary as that might seem, the pit is said to be filled with riches and wonder. Wishes beyond the imagination, as long as you can get past the dangers that are there. You are going to be sent to investigate it, now that your work here has been promptly finished. Do you understand?
I guess I don't have a choice if I don't.
Perfect. You are much more cooperative than I thought you were going to be. 2 officers are called in, and they are familiar from the ceremony that was held to sort of give you the detective badge. You will be escorted over. And once you are over there, you will be free to investigate as you please. You can take your time to say your goodbyes, and we'll be heading out in a week's time.
Thinis is pretty silent, as quiet acquiescence to the situation, kind of solemnly nods and is ready to prepare to move, understanding the situation that he's in, and both health wise and socially among the people in the room, his status among them.
With that, you are sent out to recuperate and prepare over the next week. Is there anybody in particular that you spend this time with?
Thinis would kind of pull an Irish goodbye. He's not going to tell anyone he's leaving, and he's ready to go as soon as he's recuperated.
Okay. Feel free to press the rest button on your sheet. There's a little bed. 1 hit point restored. Okay, we'll just put you in.
Bro's kind of restless.
Doesn't get a lot of sleep over the next week, understandably. But you recover just fine. Nothing ended up being too terribly deep. And with that, you set out. Here's green gold on the edge of Lake Incarthen. And you head south here, sort of along the rivers and trails, down to Augustana. At which point, you would be put on a boat, still accompanied by the 2 officers at this point. They've been sort of at your side this whole time, for better or worse. Mostly worse, as you can feel them sort of looming over you and making sure that you don't go anywhere. On your way over, you catch tale of the name of this place. Martyr's Hollow. Would you like to roll a recall knowledge check to see if you can learn anything else? And you can use any of your sort of knowledge skills for this.
Got it.
Perfect. You learn of the reason for the name Martyr's Hollow, as 2 years ago there was a large earthquake, which supposedly brought Martyr's Hollow from the depths up to the surface. And a year before that, a group of sailors on a cargo ship heading from Augustana to Aspenthar were sailing across the inner sea when they were interrupted by an incredible storm. And in the midst of this storm, somebody on board jumped ship and sank downwards into the sea. It was in this same spot, supposedly, as the stories go, that the hollow rose up. Hence, the sailors who were on that ship and survived gave it the name Martyr's Hollow, and that quickly began to spread.
I think upon hearing most of this, Thinis is probably regretful not telling anyone where he was going.
And without much time, you end up showing up at Martyr's Hollow. Down in the southernmost part of the island, there is a town that the boat you are on sails to port, and the 2 officers leave you here as they sail back, and you are left alone in what seems to be a somewhat thriving gold rush town, as there are several adventurers and traders, a full marketplace sort of filled with busy patrons. It's a lot louder than you sort of may have expected this place to be. What does Thinis do?
I think the first thing Thinis is doing is looking for lodging, somewhere to stay. Because looking for his real first thought is to look for the police station, but realize that finding work before finding a place to sleep is not the right order of operations here.
Very, very much makes sense. There are several inns about. One of them, in particular, you catch a liking to, as it has a good view of not only the town from one of the higher floors of it, but it's located pretty close to one of the ledges looking over Martyr's Hollow. And from the window of your room, you can see the expanse of the outside of the crater. You notice in particularly the barrier of sort of clouds that lies in the almost perfectly circular centerpiece of the hollow.
When he's kind of looking at this view for the first time, one of Thinis's fidgets is that he kind of picks at the point of his ear. So he's picking at the point of his ear quite a bit, just looking at the expanse. And then as soon as he's done taking a look and grabbing a room at the inn, that's when he's going to go search for the police station or any sort of city guard for this settlement.
You notice as you're sort of perusing around that there isn't much of a guard sort of at all. You begin to pick up that this place is mostly self-governed and largely just here to facilitate, trade, lodging for the adventurers who want to go down into the hollow, along with several things that have sort of sprouted off of that. Where there's people, there needs to be food. Where there needs to be food, there will be people who try to start their own farms and so on and so forth. So a lot of the stuff is just sort of naturally sprung up. And as far as you know, fairly quickly, since this place has only been here for about 2 years. You do manage to find that there are several sort of guilds, which are helping facilitate adventurers going down into the depths, some of which seem shadier than others. You're able to pick up on it fairly well, knowing a scam, and people asking to essentially have you sign your life away, go down, and then they get all of your belongings, that sort of thing. But you manage to find an elven woman with sort of blonde hair and gothic clothing, tagging down any adventurer she can find, and with the nicest customer service sort of face, trying to recruit them for one thing or another.
Thinis will approach and introduce himself, and then would ask for their name as well.
Pleasure to meet you, Thinis. I'm Lilith Orphine. She smiles at you and sort of takes your hand and shakes it. Hello. What brings you here to Martyr's Hollow? Are you looking for work? Are you looking for information about the hollow itself?
Spot of both, I'd say. Guess I'm here because here's the only place I can be.
Her eyes still sort of stay somewhat closed, but her smile, you see it twitch into a frown for like just a second, but it flips back up again. She's like, oh, well, there are quite a few people who are like that around here. Would you like to sit and chat? It is getting dreadfully warm out here.
I'm going to use a free action for Expeditious Inspection for sense motive.
Okay. You get the feeling that she is pretty honest about her feelings, just sort of wearing them on her sleeve. While you get the feeling that she's being, a little fake, just customer service-esque. Her intentions are at the very least there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thinis will go to sit down and chat then.
Okay. She takes you towards a building not too far away, with a sign above it which reads Mortician's Aid. And when you enter, you look around and are maybe caught off guard by the paraphernalia that is around. There's banners and items around that have skull designs, along with sort of just a couple straight up skulls on the shelves. Not from any one particular race, as you can sort of just clock off the dome, but just generally. Would you like to roll a recall knowledge religion check?
Yes.
You can't quite clock what sort of religion they would be from, but you know that they are more than likely having to do with something that she believes in, whether that helps how you feel or makes you feel worse.
Mm-hmm. Can I use that's odd to figure out one suspicious thing in the room?
Yeah, sure. I will say the most suspicious thing in the room to you is in front of you there is a desk, and she sort of rounds around it and goes to sit behind it. And behind her there is a lockbox that is the size of maybe just a little bit smaller than like a shoebox, that is sitting behind her.
Gotcha.
There's a chair pulled out on the other side of the desk, or on your side of the desk, and she motions towards it and says, "Please sit."
Thinis will walk over to the chair, and as he's walking over, he'll kind of point behind him, referencing the sign outside, and kind of say, "Are you the title Mortician here?"
I suppose so. I am the owner of this establishment. I am not truly a mortician, but it is a good moniker for the business that we're doing here. I'm sure you're filled with questions, and feel free to just simply ask away. I'm here to help.
So, why? I've heard that there's treasure in this hollow over here, but why? What's all the commotion? Why is there a whole settlement here for this business?
Well, when a bunch of treasure and rumors of wishes being granted and so on and so forth appear out of somewhat nowhere, and very little ways to confirm or deny these rumors, then there are bound to be adventurers, and where there's bound to be adventurers making a profit, there are merchants, and where there's merchants, there's people who need to feed them, and so on and so forth. Some people are here to simply be a makeshift city guard and, well, keep trouble to a minimum, although there's no organized department. Would Thinis still be wearing his badge?
I would say yes.
Okay. She sort of clocks it a look, but doesn't, outright mention it.
Sure. Where does this story about the wishes come from? What is this wish?
I guess it's a rumor that sprung up that anybody who were to make it to the bottom of the hollow would get a wish granted, and something that has yet to be proven for a variety of reasons, the topmost of that being the curse placed upon it.
Can you go into detail on this curse?
Yes, of course. It's been something I've been trying to key as many people into as possible. It's one of the largest dangers of the Hollow. the deeper you go, the harder it is to return. And she pulls out a piece of paper with a drawn map, fairly well drawn map. It looks similar to what you see in front of you, although an ounce less detailed. And she points to the center of the hollow at the sort of cloud barrier. And she mentions, anyone who has gone back here, gone past this point, has not been able to make it back to the town. It seems the deeper you go, on your way back up, you start to feel this pressure. It's like pressure and lightness at the same time, and you feel your heart start to falter, and there have been several adventures that have collapsed on their way back. And you start to recall, as you've walked through the city, that there have been quite a few people who have looked a little ghastly, a little pale, like a little slower of a gait, but it was hard to place anything until now.
So I take it you haven't been down there yourself then?
She shakes her head. I have mainly been facilitating information.
Is that all you do here? Or is there something else you're looking for being out on the street?
Well, and she tilts her head a little bit and smiles. There is something that I'm looking for. A group of people willing to go down into the hollow, past that cloud barrier. And she pulls out a journal from one of the drawers in her desk and places it on the table. And you can see on the front of it, there is a sort of skull motif, and written on it is the Mortician's journal. This here, and she opens it and starts to flip through the pages, and you can see that the pages themselves are this sort of ghostly blue. This journal here shares its information with its sister copies. This is going to be how we plan on getting in more information about the depths up to here. But of course, to get any of that information up is going to take a party willing to go down. And as I'm sure you could gather, it may be a one-way trip.
How many people have you convinced with this one?
She gives a little bit of a chuckle, and she flips towards the back of the journal, and she counts 5 entries into it, and holds up one of her hands, all of her fingers out. 5 so far.
That is more than I was expecting.
Well, several people were looking to go down alone by themselves and sort of brave the depths as a soul-searching journey. Some looking for the wish that is said to be granted. There have been a multitude of motivations, but the reassurance of traveling with a party goes quite some way, and they have decided to sign on.
Thinis hadn't put much stock into the idea of this wish that could be granted, and he's remembering specifically the day that he was given the detective badge, and the events surrounding it. More than she did, he's convinced himself a little bit more that he has nowhere else to go. He doesn't trust the guilds that have already been created or established in this small settlement, and he is more ready to acquiesce to the idea, although not sold. And so he goes, What do you plan on doing with this information? Just spreading it out to the people?
Partially. The other thing I'm here to do is to help the party down below. The journal goes both ways. If I learn anything important here on the surface, then I can let those who are below know. My ultimate goal is to, well, conquer this place. Several people have been giving their lives, whether it's for adventure or otherwise, and I like to think that the answer that will save any more people from going into this hole is, well, in it. If we can somehow dispel the curse itself and dispel the dangers that are within, then less people will be needlessly giving their lives unprepared. How long would you say Thinis has been here? Probably like a couple days at this point, or like 1 day or 2 days? You've already found an inn, so...
Yeah, maybe 48 hours.
Okay. We'll say one of the nights you were here, you remember sort of looking out that window that looks over the hollow and seeing several lights, kind of like stars, light up across the hollow of little fires, little campfires, and just the sort of sheer amount of people who have been traveling around the hollow, sort of looking for that adventure, looking for that coin, and then thinking about how, if now putting, one and one together, any of those people who go in there are going to, at best, be sickly leaving, and at worst, go farther down and die on their way up, or perish to the hazards that are in the hollow itself.
Thinis asks how many people have died. Do we have a count? Do we know?
Well, the estimate is rising sort of by the day. If I had to put a number on it, we are already well into the hundreds, if not higher. Many an adventurer wanting to, strike it big for one reason or another, and, well, youth is a fickle thing. People not putting much weight behind their reasons to jump into a pit that could kill them.
Thinis kind of thinks about the potential of the group that he would theoretically be signing for, and thinks about the good he can do, and how he thinks about the person he very likely murdered just the previous week, maybe 9 days ago at this point, if not more for travel time, and thinks about how often he might have served the Green Gold Police Department as a detective, thinking that he was doing good and not realizing that the people he worked for and the things that he did for them were not with maybe he had good intentions, but they weren't with the good intentions of the people in Green Gold, not the police department, not the people who were corrupt. And he realizes that he doesn't have anywhere to go. This might be an opportunity to counteract some of the bad he might have done while he was living in his city, working under the city force. If he's able to put any effort towards helping the people stuck in there, or lifting the curse for the people who want to explore, he's getting to the point where he would take it. But he decides he needs a little bit more information, and specifically concerning the thing that really struck his eye when he walked in, and he goes, okay, well, one more thing. I'm interested in the group, but I'm just as interested in what's back there. And he kind of points around her to the lockbox that he had noticed walking in.
Oh, that? This is another tool that we'll be giving to the parties who are delving. And she stands up out of her seat and goes back and grabs it and puts it on the table. This is largely how I will be supporting the group, other than just, information from the top. I will be willingly doing any shopping or the sort for the group, and she opens up the box, and looking into it, you notice that it is bigger on the inside. It is sort of a box of holding. And she stands up again and walks into a side room and brings out another box and places it beside, this one looking pretty much identical to the first. And she takes one hand and sort of puts it in one of the boxes, and you see it come out the other. I will be able to supply you guys with sort of whatever you need. You simply write me a list of supplies and we'll be able to drop it through. Although there is limitations on this as far as going in and out of the hollow, or when you guys are in the hollow, nothing organic will be able to be put into this, so I won't be able to, reach my hand all the way through, such as this. But I will be able to put in anything else that you guys sort of desire, such as wands or possibly potions, scrolls, ammunition, any of the sorts. I can take what you guys find down there and bring it up above, sell it, and give you all what you need.
Thinis would consider himself to be a pretty careful person. Very hesitant in his actions, for one reason or another. And what he's discovered is that the actions in which he were rash have kind of gotten him into this situation. Rash when in the alleyway, with the man that he killed, or rash when immediately acquiescing to the chief's orders to come here. Not questioning it more, even despite his status, or even coming here. And he's realized that he's not happy with how he was before, because being careful also got him to this position, and it got him into that alleyway. And he's realized that if he wants to make a change, the most changes in his life recently have been from being rash. And Thinis thanks her and says, if you'll have me, I'm ready to sign.
Perfect. This is wonderful news. And she opens up the journal again, sort of pushing the two boxes to the side. And as she is flipping to the back of the book where she counted the sort of entries beforehand, she says, now, of course, this isn't a soul-binding signature or anything like that. Nothing of the sort. If you so desire, you can back out at any time, even if it's on the day of that I will be sending your group down. You could call it off. There is no shame in, not wanting to put your life on the line like this. It is a scary thing. And she gets to the back and finds a blank page and slides the book, the journal over to you. But if you would be so kind as to put your name in here, and most importantly, write down your motivation for entering the Hollow in the first place. This is a tradition I would like to start and keep for people writing in here, so if one person perishes, the others can pick up where they left off. We've had an assortment of reasons for going down. In fact, if you want to get there yourself, you can click over to there's like a book tab. It should be called Journal. You can click over there, then there will be the Mortician's Journal, which you can click on that folder and then open the actual book itself. And here is where the party will be taking notes. Both parties will be using this journal for writing encounter information and other like story information. I imagine you will be using it a decent amount as one of the sort of as the detective of the party. So you can sort of take notes in character and out of character here. And if you go to motivation, like if you put your mouse over motivations on the screen, there will be a little edit button that appears. You can feel free to click that and add a new tab below. You can take all the time that you need. Is that what you wish to write?
Yeah, I'm good.
Perfect. Do some good. And with that, Thinis passes the book or the journal back over to Lilith. She smiles and closes it. Thank you for joining. I will be in touch with you as soon as we finish getting the rest of the members together. I'm looking for 2 others, and once I find them, we'll organize and I will be sending you all down.
Thinis nods his head and stands up ready to leave. Kind of says, I'm not going to say this on the day of because it's going to be around people I don't know the first thing about. But if we don't make it out of here, tell our stories.
She nods and says, of course, absolutely. And she's the face that she's been keeping up this sort of whole time fades as she opens her eyes a little bit more, and she says, I resonate with your story of not having anywhere else to go. I am partially in the same boat.
I think probably a couple moments of silence pass before Thinis nods again and goes to walk out the door.
Perfect. Then with that, we have our 6th member of the Mortician's Aid. Yippee!
Yippee!